That house that you just bought for £400,000, well, you're actually paying £665,000 for it. And there are some massive myths that everybody believes in about how mortgages actually work. Look, I'm not here to bash mortgages or trying to convince you not to buy a house, because very often mortgage can make a perfect sense for you. But there are some myths about how mortgages work that cost people a lot of money. Today, we are going to break down some real mathematics behind mortgages and bust some beliefs that people hold about them, such as, interest is just a little bit extra on top of your mortgage, or that you've actually paid half of your house throughout the middle of your mortgage term. Because once you understand what's really happening with your money, you can make much smarter decisions. Let's start with the basic maths that everybody knows exists, but nobody actually calculates it. You buy a £400,000 house and you put a £50,000 deposit for it. That means you're getting a loan of £350,000 at, let's say, 5% interest per annum over 25 years. Your monthly payment works out at around £2,046, so that means over 25 years you're going to pay £615,000 total for your mortgage. Add back your £50,000 deposit to it, and the total cost for your house, meaning the cost of the house plus your mortgage and interest, will be £665,000. That's £265,000 in interest alone. Now, this isn't a secret, and it's right there in your mortgage documents. But most people focus on the monthly payment, not the total cost of your mortgage. The question is, why is the interest bill so high? And the answer to it mostly comes down to how compounding of interest works, or any fixed payment loan. Here is how every fixed payment loan works, whether it's a mortgage, car loan, or personal loan. In the early years, most of your monthly payments goes towards paying off the interest. And later down the line, as you progress in your payments, more and more of your monthly payment goes towards paying the actual loan. This happens because of pure mathematics, not necessarily because banks are trying to be super sneaky. Let me show you why. Your £350,000 loan at 5% interest means you owe about £17,500 in interest in year one alone. Your monthly payment is £2,046, so roughly £1,458 goes towards interest, and only £588 reduces the debt. As you pay down your loan, you owe interest on a smaller amount. So naturally, more of your monthly payment will start going towards paying the actual debt and not interest. It's just mathematics. This pattern exists on every loan, but the main difference with mortgages is the scale. Because you're borrowing hundreds of thousands over decades, the earlier interest payments are massive. So in your first 5 years of your mortgage, you might pay a total of £122,000 towards it, but only £32,000 will actually go towards paying the actual debt. £90,000 out of it will go towards paying interest. This creates one of the biggest myths when it comes to mortgages and what people believe in. It's this perception that when you're halfway through your mortgage term, you've paid half of your loan. But this is not true. Let me show you why. If you have a 25-year mortgage, after 12 years, so in the middle of your term, you expect to pay down £175,000, so half of it. But actually, the debt that you owe is £230,000. So much more what you might have originally thought. You are nowhere near the halfway, even though you're halfway through your actual mortgage term. The reason this mathematical reality hits harder with mortgages is mostly down to the fact that the amounts are huge, and most people don't stay put. Think about it. If you take a £20,000 personal loan over 5 years, let's say, you're usually expected to pay it off as originally agreed. But with mortgages, people tend to move house, refinance, remortgage for better terms, or release some extra equity. Now, when you refinance, what happens to this mortgage payment structure depends on the terms you select. If you refinance and you keep the same remaining term, let's say you have 20 years left and you refinance for a 20-year mortgage, so you're not adding any extra years, your payment terms will be roughly the same. But here's what people very often do. They refinance, and when they do it, they extend the mortgage term again. Maybe you have 20 years left on your mortgage, but you actually refinance it for 25 years, so additional 5 years to make your monthly repayments more affordable. When you extend the term like this, that's when the mathematics restart again. You're back to the early years where most of your payments go towards interest. In the UK, most mortgages have a fixed term of between 2 to 5 years. So a lot of people, when they refinance, they choose to extend their term so that they can keep their monthly payments affordable, especially if interest rates have risen recently. Compare this to some other countries like the United States, for instance, when you can fix your mortgage term for the entire duration of your loan. There, you would naturally progress through your amortization schedule without restarting it. Let's clear up another misunderstanding. When do you actually fully own your house? Legally, your name is on the title deed from day one, but the bank holds a charge against your property. It's basically a legal claim so that they can repossess your house if you don't pay. This isn't unusual or predatory. This is how secured lending works, and your house is a collateral against your loan. But here's what it means in practice. You want to rent out your room to help with the cost of your mortgage? You probably need bank's permission first. You want to do some major renovations in your house? Same thing. You want to sell and move? You want to pay off the bank first. This is exactly how secured lending works, and the bank, it needs to protect its investment, which is your mortgage. The true full ownership of your house only happens when you make the last payment of your mortgage at the very end of your mortgage term. Now, should you try to reach that point faster by overpaying? Here is where psychology comes into play. Because mortgages are like forced savings. If you're not gonna pay, you're gonna lose your house. Mortgage doesn't feel like an investment, it feels like a bill, and you would always prioritize paying your bills first versus, going on holiday. So it's much easier for people to justify paying down your mortgage and not going on holiday versus having £1,000 spare in your account and not putting it into a stocks and shares ISA, for instance, so that £500 that you're putting towards your extra repayments towards your mortgage, you might be actually better off investing it somewhere else for better returns over the long term. The psychological difference is huge though, because mortgages feel like they're mandatory and secure. And stock investments, they feel like they're optional and risky. You can always defer your stock investment if you want to go on holiday next month. Because if you don't invest money into a stocks and shares ISA, technically nothing will happen to you. You won't lose your house, you won't lose electricity in your house, you will still be fed. Mortgage payments feel forced versus stocks and shares investments, so people are much more likely to skip investing and spend that money instead. Of course, it doesn't mean that everybody should start investing instead of paying down their mortgage. There are other factors that should be considered, such as whether renting is actually cheaper in your area than buying a house, your own financial situation, what the mortgage rates are, etc. The point is that a mortgage might feel like your best investment, but there are other factors and other opportunities that you should also consider. And it's worth understanding all your options. Here is the thing. Understanding how mortgages work isn't about making them good or bad. It's just about making you more informed. The lie everybody believes is that mortgages are simple, that you only pay a bit of interest when you're buying a house, and that your monthly payments are steadily paying down your mortgage. But we've seen the real mathematics, okay? Your £400,000 house actually cost you $665,000. Halfway through your mortgage, you haven't paid off half of your house. And the psychology of forced savings makes mortgages a better investment than they mathematically are. Understanding these myths doesn't mean you shouldn't be getting a mortgage. It means you can make better decisions about whether to overpay, when to remortgage, and what decisions you should be making overall in terms of your financial strategy. And this will apply not only to your mortgage, but to any loan that you will ever take out. If this helped you understand your mortgage better, then please subscribe to my channel. My name is Kamo. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.